Hey, Chris from Codify Academy here. In this video, I want to explore a few different types of values that we have in CSS. So we know that we use CSS selectors, which choose HTML, and then we add properties with values to those selected elements, and that changes how they look. So now we're going to focus on the value part, and we're going to look at two common value types. We have color and we have length. Color will normally be used to affect things like fonts or background, borders, stuff like that. And we have four types. First is keyword colors, like red, green, blue, or tomato. There's a bunch more, and I'll include a link to a list of these in the description. Second is hexadecimal colors. We start these with a hashtag, followed by a combination of 3 or 6 digits to make a color. What you should know here is that a 0 is going to be black, and an F is going to be white. Oh, and if you see a 3-digit one, it just doubles like this. Third, we have RGB and RGBA colors. This is just a math equation similar to hexadecimal, stands for red, green, and blue, and what we do is we put 3 comma-separated values of numbers between 0 and 255 together, and those are going to combine to create your color. Here, 0 is black, and 255 is white. And then we have the A for RGBA. This stands for alpha, which allows you to change the transparency of a color. The number here is between 0 and 1. And fourth and last, we have HSL and HSLA. This stands for hue, saturation, and lightness. These are similar to RGB and RGBA, but they're not really widely supported across browsers or really used. So if you really want to, you can investigate some more, but I'm going to leave it at that. Most developers use hexadecimal colors, and it gives us about 17 million colors to choose from. That's more than enough. And then we can use RGBA to apply transparency if we need to. Because there are so many colors, people have made things known as a color picker, and luckily we have one here by W3 Schools. And we can just enter any color we want. I'm going to use my favorite, tomato. And we can see the keyword color here, the hexadecimal color below that, the RGB color below that, and the HSL color below that. Then if we look at this simple code example, we've applied all of those different values to the color property on this element. And we can see they're all the same colors. We just got them with a different method. So keep it simple, just use hexadecimal colors and RGBA if you need transparency. Okay, second up we have length. We have two categories here. We have absolute and relative length. The first one, absolute, that's a fixed length. Here you're going to know these as pixels. We've used these all the time. These have been around a long time. And we can see here that we'll set the font size of the HTML to 16 pixels, nothing crazy, but notice it doesn't change the H1 because that has its own default size. Let's also add a P tag here, and we'll change the font size of that to 16 pixels. And so we can see the P element has font size of 16 pixels. That's absolute length, we just have pixels there. And relative, we have two types. The first one is percentages. When a percentage is used, it's going to be based on that parent element. So if we set the width of this wrap tag to 50%, it becomes 50% of that parent element, which is the body tag. Pretty cool, right? And our second relative length is EM. Now this is relative to the element's font size. This one becomes a little more interesting to calculate. So let's say on my wrap, I'm going to change the width 50 EM, and we can calculate that out here. We have 50 EM, we'll multiply that by the pixel size, 16 pixels, and that comes from the HTML element here. Our wrap should be 800 pixels wide. And we can see if we hover over the element, we see 800 pixels. So EM and percentages are going to let us change style a little bit more fluidly instead of the defined pixels. There are more absolute and relative units that we can use, but pixels, percentages, and EM are probably the most popular. Alright, well that's it for now. Make sure to check out the links in the description. I've also included a link to a unit converter for PX to EM or EM to PX, so make sure to check those out.